7:13 a.m. Two police cruisers sat in my driveway, lights flashing. The lead officer's hand hovered near his belt like I was a threat. I stood there holding my coffee mug, the one with the Army Corps of Engineers logo, on the property I bought 6 months ago. Paid in full, deed in hand. About 40 feet back stood HOA President Deidre Kensington, arms crossed, smirking behind her designer sunglasses like she'd just won something. 4 hours earlier, she had called 911 and told them there was a dangerous, possibly armed squatter refusing to leave. Classic swatting move. But I'm a 54-year-old veteran who just wanted to build a small workshop in peace. The morning smelled like fresh-cut grass and on Deidre's desperation. What she didn't know was that I had the one document that could flip her entire world upside down. What would you do if someone tried to get you arrested on your own land? Drop a comment and tell me where you're watching from. I bet there are plenty of HOA nightmare stories out there. My name's Garrett Hollins, 54, divorced, 2 kids, one in college, one in med school. I served 20 years with the Army Corps of Engineers before starting my own civil engineering business here in Tulsa. I don't look for trouble. I've had enough of that overseas. 6 months ago, I bought 3.2 acres on the edge of Pinewood Estates subdivision. The plan was simple: build a workshop, convert the detached garage into a small machine shop, and have a place where my kids could visit without tripping over their mom's new boyfriend. The property is beautiful. A 150-year-old oak tree shades the front yard. Its branches creak like an old sailing ship when the wind blows. Inside my half-finished workshop, the air smells like sawdust and motor oil, with a shimmer of metal dust glowing in the afternoon sun. When I bought this land, it was outside the Pinewood Estates HOA boundaries. I have a 2018 survey proving it. The property line ends 200 feet east of my driveway. I checked carefully before buying because I'd heard the stories. HOAs finding people for garden gnomes or mailbox colors. Pinewood Estates is your typical upper-middle-class suburb. 127 homes, built between 2015 and 2019 with HOA dues of $385 a month. But right after I closed, the HOA quietly filed paperwork to change the boundaries, pulling my property into their jurisdiction without notice. No certified letter. No hearing. Just bureaucratic theft. That's when I met Deidre Kensington, 49, real estate agent, HOA president for 18 months. Picture someone who wears pastel blazers like armor and says, "Community standards," the way a preacher says divine law. Her voice has the warmth of a table saw. She drives a white Lexus RX with a vanity plate that reads HOAQN. Deidre has a reputation, placing liens over garden decor, finding families for chalk drawings, and even pushing foreclosures over late fees. I also noticed how she treated people: cold toward the 3 black families in the neighborhood, dismissive of my retired Latino neighbor Ruben Cortez, and generally condescending to anyone without a white-collar job. The first week after I moved in, I got a certified letter. The envelope had that official texture, the kind that smells like toner and entitlement. Inside, a $2,500 fine for an unapproved structure, my garage, a structure that existed before their HOA ever claimed my land. I emailed back my survey, deed, and a legal opinion from my paralegal friend. I'm not part of your HOA. By week 3, Deidre showed up in person, clipboard in hand, snapping photos like a detective at a crime scene. She threatened to file a lien and said I was setting a bad precedent. I told her to leave. By week 5, a new letter arrived. $5,000 in fines plus $150 a day in penalties. It mentioned legal action and foreclosure. I've dealt with insurgents who negotiated more honestly. That night, my neighbor Ruben brought over a 6-pack. He said, "They're bleeding you dry, man. That's the game. Make it so expensive you give up." That's when I called Lucia Brennan, a local attorney in her early 40s. I'd helped her mom fix a drainage issue once, so she owed me a favor. After looking over my documents, she said, "Garrett, that's not just wrong, that's fraud." Turns out I wasn't the only one. A young couple, Travis and Mallory Kent, were already fighting $8,000 in fines over a backyard swing set. Deidre wasn't enforcing rules, and she was running a scam on 127 families. So I stopped responding to her letters. I knew I was legally right. That's when she went nuclear. She filed a police report claiming I was trespassing on HOA property, my own driveway, and that I had verbally threatened her. None of it was true. Which brings us back to 7:13 a.m. Two cops walking up my driveway while Deidre stood back, smirking, waiting for them to arrest me. The lead officer, Sergeant Pacheco, was mid-40s, steady and cautious. His partner was younger, scanning the yard like I was hiding something. I stayed calm, hands visible, coffee mug in one hand. 20 years in the Army teaches you how to diffuse tension before things get stupid. "Morning, officers," I said. "I'm guessing Dedrick Kensington called this in." Pacheco nodded. "We got a report of trespassing on HOA common property and a verbal threat toward the HOA president." "Your side of the story?" I set my coffee down. "Happy to explain. But first, can I show you some paperwork?" I moved slowly, narrating every motion, and brought out my folder. Survey, deed title, insurance, email exchanges, and even a dash cam image showing Dedrick trespassing on my property weeks ago. I spread it all on the hood of his cruiser. The metal was cool, the paper crisp. Pacheco reviewed everything carefully, checked the county plat map on his phone, and radioed in. 5 tense minutes passed. Deidre waited by her Lexus, arms crossed, practically vibrating with anger. Finally, Pacheco called out, "Ma'am, this is a civil dispute, not criminal trespass. Mr. Hollins has documentation proving his property boundary. You'll need to take this to court." Deidre's mask cracked. She stormed forward. "Excuse me, I pay your salary. You're telling me you won't enforce this?" Pacheco stayed calm. "Ma'am, we don't enforce HOA bylaws. If you believe there's a violation, you'll need to contact your attorney." Her face flushed. She spun around, yanked her car door open, and sped off, tires screeching. The smell of burnt rubber hung in the air. Pacheco shook his head and handed me his card. "Mr. Hollins, off the record, document everything. Every letter, every encounter. HOAs can twist stories fast. Protect yourself." I thanked him as the cruisers pulled away. Standing there, it hit me. Deidre had just tried to weaponize law enforcement against me. This wasn't about dues anymore. It was about control, about breaking me down until I surrendered or went broke. I called Lucia. She answered on the second ring. After I explained what happened, she paused. "Garrett," she said, "she just crossed into malicious prosecution. If she's willing to lie to police, she'll lie in court. I'm taking your case. Pro bono for now." Her first move, a cease and desist letter to the HOA demanding they withdraw all fines and threats, warning that further harassment would trigger a lawsuit for malicious prosecution and abusive process. She also filed a formal complaint with the county about the illegal boundary change. Under Oklahoma law, HOAs must send certified notices to affected landowners before adjusting boundaries. I never got one, which made the annexation void. Here's your first knowledge nugget. If your HOA tries to expand its territory, check your state laws. Without proper notice, those changes are often unenforceable. Deidre's response came fast. Ruben told me Deidre had called an emergency board meeting that same afternoon. Her version of the story: "This squatter is attacking our authority with baseless legal threats. If we back down, every homeowner will stop paying dues." The board, 4 nervous yes-men afraid to cross her, voted to pursue all legal remedies. Translation: they were doubling down. 2 days later, I was at the hardware store when Travis and Mallory Kent walked up. Mallory had their toddler on her hip and Travis looked worn out. "Garrett, we heard you hired a lawyer. Can she help us too?" Turns out 9 families were drowning in HOA fines. An elderly couple faced foreclosure over a $12,000 lien that started as a $400 late fee. That's when it hit me. This wasn't just about my property line. Deidre was running a scam on 127 families. That night, Ruben and I sat on my porch with beers, the cicadas buzzing in the background. "You know what Deidre's problem is?" I said. "She's got HOA president syndrome. Mall cop energy with a gavel and a grudge." Ruben chuckled. "Nah, man. She's got yacht club energy in a kiddie pool subdivision. Thinks she's running the Hamptons, but it's Tulsa. Nobody's impressed." We were still laughing when my phone buzzed. Unknown number. A photo of my truck parked at Home Depot earlier that day. Caption: "We're watching." I showed Lucia. She told me to install cameras immediately. But here's the thing, I've faced real threats before. IEDs, ambushes, people who genuinely wanted me dead. This suburban power trip wasn't going to scare me, but it did make me angry. Week 7. The HOA filed a lawsuit in county court, a declaratory judgment to enforce covenants. Their argument: even if my land was originally outside the HOA, the corrected plat map filed 6 months earlier was now legally binding. They hired Conrad Trimble, a strip mall attorney in his 60s whose reputation was built on intimidation and default judgments, the kind of guy whose ads probably run on bus benches. Lucia hit back hard, a motion to dismiss and a counterclaim for fraud, harassment and abusive process. Then discovery began. She subpoenaed the HOA's financials, meeting minutes and internal emails. And that's where things got interesting. The corrected plat map? Never properly noticed. Oklahoma law requires certified mail to every affected property owner. I never received one. That made the annexation void. Second knowledge nugget: if you ever face a legal dispute, check if official notices were properly served. Improper notice can invalidate contracts, liens, even lawsuits. But Deirdre didn't care about laws. She cared about power. The harassment ramped up. HOA inspectors, mostly her real estate buddies, started showing up every week to photograph my property. One morning I woke up to find bright orange code violation stickers slapped on my garage door, mailbox, even my truck. The sticky residue took 20 minutes and half a can of WD-40 to remove. Reuben caught one inspector on camera using my trash cans as a stepladder to peek over my fence. Trespassing, me caught in 4K. So I went into defense mode. 6 security cameras, cloud storage backup, a detailed log of every letter, every visit, every timestamp. Lucia smiled when I told her. Discovery is beautiful, she said. Let's see how clean their hands really are. Spoiler, they weren't. Her paralegal uncovered $140,000 missing from the HOA's books. Vague line items labeled administrative, fees, and community enhancement consulting. Cross-referencing, the meeting minutes revealed something worse. Deirdre's LLC had been paid $18,000 for property management, even though the HOA already had a management company. This wasn't petty power abuse, it was embezzlement. Mallory Kent hosted a secret backyard meeting. 11 families showed up, each with their own horror story. One couple was fined $3,000 for installing solar panels, even though Oklahoma law protects solar rights. An elderly widower faced foreclosure over a $400 debt that ballooned to $6,000 in interest and legal fees. I proposed forming a coalition, maybe even a class action lawsuit. Lucia attended in plain clothes, taking quiet notes. I can work with this, she whispered. But word got back to Deirdre. Someone's spouse on the board spilled the news. Within 24 hours, she called another emergency meeting. Result? Anyone organizing against the HOA would be hit with special assessment fees of $1,000 a month until compliance. The next day I got the notice. So did Travis, Mallory, and 4 others. It was extortion, disguised as procedure. Late that night, my doorbell camera caught someone spray painting deadbeat across my garage door. In the footage, a white Lexus RX sat in the background, license plate partially visible. I sent it to Lucia and Sergeant Pacheco. Pacheco replied, "That's vandalism. File a report. I'll increase patrols." I filed it immediately and upgraded my system to 24/7 monitoring. When I scrubbed the paint the next morning, the sharp scent of chemicals filled the air. The rag snagged on the rough garage texture with every stroke. Then came the text from my daughter. "Dad, are you okay? Mom says you're in some legal thing." I told her not to worry, but inside I was boiling. Deirdre's tactics weren't just attacking me. They were damaging how my family saw me. Sleep stopped being optional. I was up at 3 a.m. cross-referencing records, running on coffee and adrenaline. Then Lucia called. "Garrett, I've been digging into property transactions in Pinewood Estates. You need to see this." She sent a spreadsheet. 3 homes foreclosed by the HOA over 2 years. All purchased at auction by Deirdre's LLC and board members' family trusts, each at 40 to 50% below market value. The pattern was undeniable. Families fined, unable to pay, foreclosed, bought cheap, flipped for 6-figure profits. This wasn't just embezzlement, it was a predatory scheme, possibly racketeering. Lucia filed an amended counterclaim under federal RICO laws and contacted the Oklahoma Real Estate Commission. Deirdre's license was now under investigation. Lucia proposed a new strategy. "We go public," she said. Civil cases take years, but media pressure works fast. I hesitated. I'm a private guy, ex-military. I hate attention, Mallory volunteered. I'm a freelance journalist. Let me pitch the Tulsa Gazette. When Deidre found out we'd uncovered the foreclosure pattern, she panicked. Another emergency meeting. This time she offered to settle. Drop all fines, remove the lien, and close everything quietly if I signed a non-disclosure agreement and released all claims. Her lawyer, Trimble, delivered the offer over Zoom. Your client should take this. Discovery can get ugly for everyone, I laughed. Tell Dedra I don't negotiate with con artists. We'll see her in court. Inside, I knew that offer meant one thing. She was scared. Discovery was working. That night, Reuben came over again. You know what's wild, he said. Deidre runs this HOA like a cartel, but she probably thinks she's the hero. I took a sip of my beer. Every villain does, Reuben. Every villain does. Then my phone buzzed, and another certified letter notification. Not from the HOA this time, from a title company. Notice of foreclosure sale. Pinewood Estates. HOA common property was being foreclosed by a bank holding a $1.2 million construction loan from 2019. Payments hadn't been made in 18 months. Auction in 30 days. My engineering brain lit up. If the HOA loses its common property, what happens to its legal standing? I called Lucia. I think I just figured out how to buy the HOA. Week 10. The HOA placed a lien on my property even though the annexation was still being contested. Trimble called it standard procedure. The judge allowed it temporarily, freezing my equity and preventing me from refinancing or selling. Dedra wasn't just fighting legally, she was waging psychological warfare. She started a whisper campaign, told neighbors I was a troublemaker, litigious, and didn't respect community values. She posted vague warnings on the private HOA Facebook group. Remember, unpaid dues hurt everyone. She didn't mention my name, she didn't have to. Neighbors who used to wave now crossed the street. My son called, worried. Dad, Mom said you're in legal trouble. I brushed it off, but the anger ran deep. I stopped sleeping again, up late analyzing county records, every transaction in Pinewood Estates over 5 years. And there it was again. The same pattern, foreclosure, insider purchase, quick flip, 3 properties, bought by Deidre's LLC and board members' family trusts. Profits between $80,000 and $120,000 per home. This wasn't just corruption, it was organized fraud. I called Lucia at 6 a.m. Garrett, she said, if we prove this conspiracy, that's federal RICO, mail fraud, wire fraud, the works. She filed another amended counterclaim and notified the Oklahoma Real Estate Commission. Third knowledge nugget, RICO laws aren't just for mobsters. If someone runs a pattern of fraud through an organization, even an HOA, it can qualify as racketeering. It turns civil disputes into potential criminal charges. Lucia's advice was clear. Go public. Civil courts move slow, media pressure moves fast. I hesitated. I'm a private man. Ex-military, not built for attention. But Mallory stepped forward. I'm a freelance journalist, she said. Let me pitch this to the Tulsa Gazette. This is exactly their kind of story. I agreed. When Deidre learned we'd uncovered the foreclosure scheme, she panicked. An emergency board meeting was called that same night. Motion to settle. Drop all fines, remove the lien. Wipe the slate clean. If I signed an NDA and released all claims, Trimble, her lawyer, appeared on Zoom. Mr. Holland, he warned, you should take this offer. Discovery can get ugly for everyone. I stared straight into the camera and laughed. Tell Dedra I don't negotiate with con artists. See you in court, Lucia smiled. Settlement offers mean she's cornered. We organized a second community meeting. 22 families showed up, double the first. The VFW hall smelled of stale coffee and old wood polish. Folding chairs creaked as people leaned forward, desperate for hope. Lucia spoke in plain English. If we can prove the foreclosure scheme was intentional, we might be able to void those sales and get your homes back. An elderly woman in the back began to cry. I lost my house 2 years ago. I thought I was alone. I stood up. You're not alone. None of us are. Reuben nodded. Travis scribbled notes. Mallory recorded audio. It felt less like a meeting and more like a reckoning. Late that night, Reuben texted me a screenshot, an anonymous Facebook profile called Pinewood Truth Teller Spreading Lies. Garrett Holland is a con artist working with investors to steal homes. Photoshopped documents. Fake names, and it was going viral. My phone blew up with messages. Within an hour, Travis traced the IP, Deidre's home network. Mallory wrote a follow-up article. HOA president behind fake social media smear campaign. Screenshots, metadata, everything. Facebook took the page down. Deidre's reputation collapsed overnight. But I knew what that meant. She was desperate, and desperate people are dangerous. The morning of the auction hearing, 7:15 a.m., I was on my porch drinking coffee when Deidre's Lexus pulled up. She stepped out with no makeup, hair messy, the first time I'd ever seen her without her usual polished mask. 2 board members followed her like shadows. She walked up slowly. "Garrett, please." "I'll resign. We'll drop everything. Just don't buy the property. Let someone neutral take it." I set my coffee down. "Neutral? Like one of your LLC friends who'll flip it and rob 127 families again?" Her voice cracked. "You don't understand. If you do this, I lose everything. My license, my business, my reputation." I looked her in the eye. "You should have thought about that before you turned this neighborhood into your personal ATM." The morning air was crisp. The courthouse steps still smelled faintly of rain. Deidre's usual perfume was gone, replaced by the scent of stale coffee and fear. At 7:45, 2 men in suits approached. One was Trimble's son, also a lawyer. "You sure you want to do this?" he asked quietly. "People who cross the wrong folks sometimes find their business prospects." Drying up, I didn't flinch. "Are you threatening me on courthouse property in front of witnesses?" Reuben was nearby, recording on his phone. "Yeah," I added, "are you?" They backed off fast. Lucia filed a harassment complaint before the hearing even started. At 8 sharp, the auction began. The auctioneer read the legal description. Opening bid, $850,000. I raised my paddle. $875. Silence. No other bidders, going once, twice. Deidre shouted from the crowd, "This is illegal! He's not even part of the HOA." The auctioneer didn't blink. "Ma'am, this is a public auction. Anyone can bid." Sold to bidder number 7 for $875,000. I handed over the cashier's check and received the preliminary deed. Outside, a TV reporter asked, "How does it feel?" I looked straight into the camera. It feels like justice. Standing on those courthouse steps, deed in hand, the full picture clicked. Here's what I had just bought and why it changed everything. Pinewood Estates common areas, the clubhouse, pool, playgrounds, entrance monuments, and detention ponds were owned by the HOA itself. 22 acres total. But here's the secret no one knew. In 2019, when the developer went bankrupt mid-construction, the HOA took out a $1.2 million loan to finish the amenities. Payments were interest only for 5 years with a balloon due in 2024. They'd missed it. The bank foreclosed quietly, using a non-judicial process. No courtroom, just public notice and auction. Most homeowners had no idea. I called Lucia from my truck. She was already connecting the dots. "You own the land now, but not the HOA's authority," she said. However, Oklahoma law allows the common area owner to dissolve an HOA if 75% of homeowners agree, or if the HOA is insolvent. I heard her typing. Proving insolvency is easy. They've defaulted on a $1.2 million loan, owed $200,000 in judgments, and another $250,000 was embezzled. They're bankrupt. Her plan was clear. Prove insolvency, petition the court to dissolve the HOA, then deed the common areas to a new nonprofit community land trust. Transparent. Democratic, everything an HOA should have been. Problem was, I needed $875. I only had $200 in liquid savings, 20 years of work. So I called my brother Caleb in Texas, a commercial developer. "I need a bridge loan, $400,000, fast," he paused. "What's the play?" I explained everything. Another pause. Then he laughed. "That's the most Garrett thing I've ever heard." I'm in. That still left $275 the next day. Mallory's article hit the Tulsa Gazette. HOA president accused of fraud as neighborhood faces foreclosure. It was detailed, devastating, and instantly viral. Local TV picked it up, then Oklahoma City by evening. Read its front page the next day. I launched a GoFundMe, Save Pinewood Estates, Stop HOA Corruption. Goal, $250,000 for the auction gap in legal fees. Within 72 hours, we'd raised $180,000. Donations poured in from across the country, people who'd fought their own HOAs, people who hated injustice, people who saw themselves in our fight. Deirdre saw the article. Her phone exploded. Board members resigned. Homeowners demanded her removal. She tried to call emergency meetings to stop the auction, but the bank had full control now. Trimble quit next. "I don't represent criminals," he said. "Find someone else." I told him flatly, "I don't represent criminals. Find someone else." That's when Lucia connected me with a non-profit attorney who specialized in community land trusts. Together, we drafted the charter for the Pinewood Commons Trust. Its mission was simple: maintain common areas, uphold fair standards, no cosmetic tyranny, and operate with total transparency. 7 elected board seats. 2-year terms. Strict limits. Open meetings. Everything streamed online. Finally, an organization that worked for people, not against them. Here's a knowledge nugget for anyone listening. Community land trusts, or CLTs, are legal structures where land is owned collectively and governed democratically. They protect communities from both HOA overreach and gentrification. If you're curious, look up the CLT model for your state. The auction was only 18 days away. Financing was secured. The legal plan rock solid. The neighborhood was rallying, but Lucia warned me. "Garrett, she's cornered." "Cornered animals are dangerous," I nodded. I'd been in enough fights to know the truth. The most dangerous moment is right before the enemy breaks. 2 days later, I was in my workshop when my phone buzzed. "Detective Morrison from the DA's office. Mr. Holland, we've reviewed the evidence your attorney submitted. We're issuing a warrant for Deirdre Kensington's arrest. Felony embezzlement, fraud, and perjury. Do you know where she is?" I didn't. She'd vanished after the auction. Her house was already listed for sale, $50,000 below market value. "We'll find her," Morrison said. "In the meantime, beef up your security. People facing prison can get unpredictable." I upgraded to 24/7 surveillance. Reuben offered to keep watch. The court hearing was tomorrow, the dissolution petition. Deirdre had been invited, but I doubted she'd show. Still, I'd be ready. The next 48 hours were a blur of logistics. I wasn't alone. I'd built a team, and each person brought something vital. Lucia Brennan, our strategist. She handled the legal filings, the auction documents, the dissolution petition, and the trust coordination. Her approach was surgical. Prove the HOA's debts outweighed its assets, expose the embezzlement, and demonstrate homeowner support for dissolution. Oklahoma law, Title 47, Section 11-109 was clear. If the HOA was insolvent, the owner of common property could petition for its dissolution. The law was on our side. Mallory Kent ran media strategy. 2 follow-up articles already live. A documentary producer from California had called. Social pressure was snowballing, and every share brought more donations. GoFundMe sat at $210,000. Ruben Cortez was our boots on the ground, tracking the board, calming worried homeowners, and making sure I actually ate real food instead of living on caffeine. Travis Kent handled tech. He built a secure website for the future trust with transparent budgeting, meeting minutes posted within 48 hours, and live-streamed sessions. He also managed the GoFundMe and encrypted communications for our coalition. My brother Caleb wired in $400,000 and advised on asset protection post-purchase. Sergeant Pacheco handled enforcement. If Deirdre tried deleting files or hiding money, we documented all as obstruction. Our legal plan, in plain English: Step 1, I won the auction. I owned the common property. Step 2, Lucia filed to prove insolvency. A defaulted $1.2 million loan, $200,000 in judgments, and $250,000 embezzled. Step 3, petition the court to dissolve the HOA. Step 4, transfer the property to Pinewood Commons Trust for $1, symbolically creating a community-run nonprofit. 7-member board. 1 home, 1 vote, no proxies. Takeaway: in many states, an insolvent HOA is like a house of cards. One well-aimed push and it collapses. Research your own state's nonprofit dissolution laws. You might have more power than you think. We prepared for Deirdre's sabotage. Lucia suspected she'd delete records or move funds. Travis archived the HOA's entire website using the Wayback Machine. Lucia subpoenaed bank statements before Deirdre could act. Mallory interviewed 3 former board members, securing sworn affidavits of her schemes. Community prep was key. I rented the VFW hall and hosted 3 town halls that week. Attendance tripled, from 50 families the first night to 103 by the third. I explained what came next. Once the HOA dissolved, dues would drop to 0 temporarily. The new trust would take over, and we'd vote on fair fees, maybe $45 a month for essentials like landscaping, insurance, and pool maintenance. No more fines for garden gnomes. No more mailbox color tyranny, and no more Dedra. The hall smelled like fresh coffee and hope. Folding chairs squeaked, but this time people leaned back smiling, asking questions instead of crying. An elderly man raised his hand. "What if an investor had outbid you?" I answered honestly. "They'd have hiked dues or sold the land off in pieces. We got lucky. But luck only works when you're prepared. We covered everything. What dissolution meant, what would happen if an investor had won, how voting worked after insolvency. These were people beaten down for years, finally believing change was possible." Then a woman stood up, her voice trembling. "My husband and I almost lost our home over $800 in fines. We stopped sleeping. We stopped talking to neighbors. You're giving us our lives back." I didn't have words, just nodded. Reuben squeezed my shoulder. That moment reminded me exactly why we were fighting. We also ran financial education sessions. Knowledge Nugget 2, foreclosure auctions. Most people don't realize that in states like Oklahoma, Texas, California, and Arizona, non-judicial foreclosures don't require lawsuits, just public notice. Anyone with a cashier's check can buy property on the courthouse steps. Research trustee sales in your area. Knowledge Nugget 3, community land trusts, where land is owned collectively and governed democratically, protect neighborhoods from HOA abuse and corporate buyouts. Search the CLT model for your area. The night before the hearing, I was in my workshop. The lathe hummed, but I wasn't really working, just letting my hands move while my thoughts settled. This wasn't about revenge anymore. Not even about Dedra, it was about systems. Systems that should protect people, not crush them. My ex once told me I was too mission-focused. Maybe she was right, but this mission mattered. I texted my kids, "Big day tomorrow. Wish me luck." My daughter replied, "Dad, we're proud of you. Go be the hero we know you are." My son sent a Captain America gif. I smiled. Reuben stopped by with a 6-pack. "For after the hearing," he said. "Win or lose?" I asked. He grinned. "If we lose, I've got tequila in the truck, brother." The hearing was at 9 a.m. Tomorrow. I had my notes, my documents, and my team. Dedra had been invited, but I doubted she'd show. Still, Lucia would handle her if she did. One thing gnawed at me, though, Lucia's warning. Cornered animals are dangerous. Dedra was staring down prison, bankruptcy, and public humiliation. What would she try next? I checked my locks twice, upgraded my cameras, and kept my phone by the bed. Because from experience, I knew the most dangerous moment in any fight is right before your enemy realizes they've lost. And tomorrow, Dedra was about to realize exactly that. I've got the notes, the documents, the team. Dedra's been invited, though I doubt she'll show. If she does, Lucia will handle her. Still, something nags at me. Lucia's words echo in my head. Cornered animals are dangerous. Dedra's staring down prison, bankruptcy, and total humiliation. What's her next move? Does she even have one left? I tighten my home security, upgrade cameras, double-check every lock, and keep my phone by the bed. Experience has taught me, the most dangerous moment in any fight comes right before your enemy realizes it's over. And tomorrow Dedra will finally understand that truth. At 4 p.m., the day before the hearing, Lucia calls. Trimble just filed an emergency injunction, claiming the dissolution violates homeowner rights. "How fast can you get to the courthouse?" I ask. She's already on her way. 20 minutes later, we're in the judge's chambers under flickering fluorescent lights. Trimble looks exhausted. Turns out he never actually quit, just told Dedra he did while still cashing her checks. His argument is a mess, claims the trust violates covenants that don't even exist, citing Arizona case law that doesn't apply in Oklahoma. Lucia dismantles him in minutes. "Your Honor, this is a transparent attempt to stall. The foreclosure was lawful, Mr. Holland lawfully bid, and delaying now only extends the abuse these homeowners have suffered." Judge Vickers, mid-50s, A former public defender with zero patience peers over her glasses. Counselor, your injunction is denied. This court will not interfere with a lawful foreclosure. We're adjourned. Gavel down. The courtroom door slams shut, the metallic echo rolling through marble walls. Deidre storms out. That night, a fake Facebook profile appears, Pinewood Truth Teller. Posts flood the neighborhood page, claiming I'm a con man working with California investors to gentrify and evict families. Doctored documents. Fake names. It spreads fast. My phone lights up with messages. Is this true? Are you selling us out? Within an hour, Travis traces the IP address to Deidre's home network. Mallory publishes a piece. HOA president behind fake social media smear. Screenshots, metadata, timestamps, all laid out. Facebook deletes the account by morning. Deidre's credibility burns to ash. By 7:15 a.m., hearing day, I'm on my porch when her Lexus pulls up. She steps out, no makeup, hair messy, shoulders heavy. 2 board members trail behind her like hostages. She approaches, heels clicking, voice trembling. Garrett, please. I'll resign, drop this. Just let someone neutral buy the property. I set my coffee down. Neutral? Like your LLC partners who plan to flip it for profit. Her hands shake. You don't understand. If you do this, I lose everything, my license, my business, my reputation. I meet her eyes. You should have thought about that before you turned 127 families into your personal ATM. The morning air is cool. Her usual perfume gone. She smells of stale coffee and fear. I made mistakes, she says, voice cracking, but destroying me won't fix anything. I'm not destroying you, I reply quietly. I'm making sure you can't destroy anyone else. She freezes, then walks away. Doesn't peel out, just drives off slowly like heading to her own funeral. By 7:45 a.m., we're at the courthouse. 2 men in suits step up, Trimble's son, another built like hired muscle. They stand too close, Mr. Holland, the son says, low and cold. You sure you want to do this? People who cross the wrong folks. Permits get delayed, clients vanish. Understand? I'm ex-Army. I've faced worse. Are you threatening me? On courthouse property? In front of witnesses? Ruben's nearby, phone recording. Yeah, he adds, are you? They glance at each other, realize they've miscalculated and back off. Just friendly advice, the son mutters. Lucia, I say, file a harassment complaint before we go in. The courtroom's packed, 60 homeowners, reporters, 3 TV crews. Mallory's live tweeting every second. Energy's electric our side. Lucia, Caleb, Ruben, Travis, Mallory, and 20 homeowners. Showside empty table, no lawyer. Just 3 miserable board members sitting in the back. At 9 a.m., Judge Vickers enters. We rise, then the doors slam open. Deidre walks in with a lawyer who can't be older than 28. Cheap black suit, severe bun, sunglasses indoors. She doesn't look at anyone. The air feels charged like the second before a thunderstorm breaks. Lucia presents first. Calm. Surgical. Point 1, she says. The HOA is insolvent. 1.2 million owed. 0 assets after foreclosure. Plus embezzled funds. Point 2, fraud confirmed through forensic audit. 240,000 stolen via hidden accounts. Point 3, common property now owned by Mr. Holland. Statute permits dissolution. We request the court dissolve the HOA, appoint a receiver, and allow homeowners to ratify the transition. Deidre's lawyer rises, hands shaking. Your Honor, my client denies all allegations. This is a vendetta by Mr. Holland. The judge leans forward. Counselor, do you have evidence refuting the audit? We're preparing our own, he stammers. You've had 7 days' notice. Where is it? It's forthcoming. Sit down. Deidre suddenly stands, ignoring her lawyer's whispers. Your Honor, may I speak? The judge sighs. Highly irregular, but proceed. Deidre's voice trembles, then rises. This is a setup. Garrett orchestrated this from day one. He never belonged here, and now he's stealing our neighborhood because the courts are rigged. The gallery murmurs. The gavel slams. Deidre keeps going. I gave 3 years of my life to that community. I worked 60 hours a week. If I took money, I earned it. These people have no idea. Miss Kensington, the judge warns. You're not under oath, but I suggest you stop. She doesn't. Garrett's a manipulator. The side door opens. Detective Morrison enters with a uniformed officer. He walks straight to the bench and hands the judge a folder. She reads, then looks up at Deidre. Miss Kensington, there's an active warrant for your arrest. Detective, proceed. The room falls silent. Detective Morrison's tone is calm, professional. Deidre Kensington, you're under arrest for felony embezzlement, second-degree fraud, and perjury. You have the right to remain silent. Deidre's face drains pale. You can't do this. I have rights, she cries, her voice breaking. Her lawyer looks like he wants to disappear. Morrison continues steady. The officer steps forward, cuffs in hand. Garrett, Deidre screams, whipping toward me. You did this. You ruined my life. I'll appeal, I'll fight. You'll regret this. Morrison takes her arm gently as the cuffs click shut. The metallic sound echoes through the courtroom like the final period on a very long sentence. The metallic clank of the handcuffs echoes through the silent courtroom like the final punctuation on a long, painful story. Deidre sobs as mascara streaks down her cheeks. The officer gently guides her toward the side exit. The door closes behind her, muffling her voice. This isn't over. Then silence. Judge Vickers adjusts her glasses. Well, that was instructive. Nervous laughter ripples through the gallery. She clears her throat. Having reviewed the evidence, financial records, forensic audit, and affidavits, this court finds Pinewood Estates HOA demonstrably insolvent and engaged in systematic fraud. Her gaze shifts to the 3 board members sitting in the back. They shrink into their seats. The petition for dissolution is granted. I appoint Lucia Brennan as receiver to wind down operations and oversee the transition to new governance. A homeowner ratification vote will occur within 30 days. Mr. Holland's counterclaims for malicious prosecution and harassment are also granted. A separate hearing will determine damages. The gavel falls. Adjourned. The courtroom erupts, not in chaos but in celebration. Hugs, tears, applause. Relief ripples through the crowd like a wave. 20 people shake my hand, thanking me, some crying outright. An elderly woman who lost her home grips my arm, tears streaming. You gave me hope again. I never thought I'd feel that. Lucia's already smiling, clipboard in hand, organizing next steps. Reuben crushes me in a bear hug. Brother, you just took down an empire. Caleb laughs while filming the moment. Mallory's already jotting notes. 15,000 people are watching the live stream. Outside, reporters swarm. Cameras flash. Microphones push forward. Mr. Holland, how does it feel? One asks, I take a breath. This isn't about winning. It's about 127 families taking back their neighborhood and making sure no one else is crushed by corrupt bureaucracy. Another asks, what's next for Pinewood Estates? I glance at Lucia. We're forming a community land trust. Transparent, democratic, accountable. The way it always should have been. From now on, the homeowners control their destiny. A third reporter leans in. Any message for others facing HOA abuse? I look straight into the camera. Document everything. Every letter, every threat, every meeting. Build alliances. You're not alone. Don't back down because they have lawyers. Bullies depend on silence. Make noise. As I finish, a police cruiser rolls past. Through the window, Deidre sits in the back seat, sunglasses gone, face streaked with tears, staring into nothing. I turn back to the homeowners, shaking hands, thanking them. The noon sun blazes against the courthouse stone. The air smells like hot concrete and victory. Church bells chime 12 times. Reuben grins. Action movies have less dramatic endings, I laugh. Hollywood couldn't write a villain this self-destructive. Mallory smirks, tapping her phone. Netflix should call any minute. That evening I sit on my porch, the same one Deidre once tried to find. My daughter calls. Dad, you're everywhere. Are you okay? I watch the sunset over my workshop. Better than okay, sweetheart. I'm free. We all are. Across the street, Travis and Mallory's kids play in the yard. No inspectors, no fear, just laughter. A neighbor I've never spoken to before waves and smiles. But Deidre's arrest isn't the end. It's the start of the cleanup. Over the next 2 weeks, Detective Morrison expands his investigation. He subpoenas records from the foreclosed properties and discovers the board members used HOA funds to finance their own bids. A closed loop of corruption. 2 board members are arrested. The third flips in turn state's witness. Local news covers it daily. Former HOA president faces 10 years. Board members charged in foreclosure scheme. Families reclaim homes. Then the story goes national. CNN, then NPR. I do one NPR interview, then stop. This was never about me. Lucia files motions to void the fraudulent foreclosure sales. The court agrees. 3 families get their homes back with clean titles. Deirdre's LLC and partners are ordered to repay profits. $240,000 divided among victims. An elderly widow who lost her home weeps as Lucia hands her the keys. I thought I'd die homeless. Thank you. Mallory's 30-minute YouTube documentary hits 2.3 million views in a week. Comments pour in, "This happened to us in Phoenix." Our HOA did the same thing. How do we fight back? It sparks a movement. 3 more Oklahoma neighborhoods dissolve their corrupt HOAs using our template. The state legislature drafts the HOA Transparency Act, requiring audits, open meetings, and capping late fees. 30 days after the hearing, we hold the homeowner vote at the clubhouse. Turnout 119 of 127 homes. The results 1 and 14 yes, 5 no. Deirdre's old inner circle bitter to the end. The dissolution is finalized. Pinewood Estates HOA officially ceases to exist. Tomorrow the real work begins. But tonight we celebrate. The public victory came in 2 waves. The first was Deirdre's arrest in court. The second, 3 weeks later, was what truly mattered. We host a town hall. Not in a rented hall, but in the Pinewood Estates clubhouse itself, the same space Deirdre once used for her private real estate events while billing homeowners for the cost. It's Saturday at 2 p.m., and the parking lot is overflowing. People park on side streets and walk in. I count over 140 attendees, more than we even have homes, neighbors from surrounding communities drawn by word of mouth. Inside, a podium, microphone, and projector stand ready. Local TV crews aren't here for scandal this time, but to witness history. Mallory films from the back. Ruben stands near the door, acting as friendly security. The atmosphere hums, intense, electric, hopeful. I step up to the podium. The microphone lets out a brief squeal before Travis adjusts it. The room smells like fresh paint. We'd just redone the clubhouse last week, covering up that cold, pretentious beige with a warm cream the community actually voted for. 3 months ago, I begin. I moved here looking for one thing, peace. A place to build a workshop, spend time with my kids, maybe grill some burgers on the weekends. I pause. Instead, I got fines, threats, police calls, and even a lien on my property. Murmurs ripple through the crowd. Half the room has lived the same story. But here's what I learned, I continue. When systems are broken, you don't fix them by asking nicely. You fix them by building something better. I click the projector. The first slide flashes up. Old HOA financials redacted for privacy. Under the previous board, you paid $385 a month. So where did that money go? I switch slides. $18,000 to Deirdre's LLC for management services no one asked for. $47,000 in legal fees fighting homeowners over garden gnomes and mailbox colors. And $140,000 just gone. Embezzled. The silence is heavy now. Angry. Here's what the Pinewood Commons Trust proposes. I click again. A transparent budget. Dues set at just $45 a month. That covers pool upkeep, common area landscaping, insurance, and a small emergency fund. No salaries, no hidden accounts. Every dollar tracked and posted online. Monthly receipts open to everyone. Any expense over $5,000? Requires a homeowner vote. I pause, letting the math sink in. That's an 88% reduction in dues. And for once, you'll actually know where your money goes. Applause starts in the back, then spreads, building into a standing ovation. I wait until it dies down. But we're not just fixing finances. We're fixing the culture. Next slide. No more fines for paint colors. No more citations for kids' toys. No more threatening letters over patio furniture. If something's actually dangerous, a fire hazard or structural issue, we handle it like neighbors, not enforcers. The applause grows again. An older man in the third row stands. What about the families who lost their homes? Are they really getting them back? I nod to Lucia. She steps forward. 3 families already have their homes returned with clear titles. Deirdre's LLC and her partners were forced to pay damages. 2 more are finalizing paperwork. By the end of the month, every stolen home will be restored. The room erupts. Tears, hugs, relief. The elderly widow who got her house back stands up and waves, earning her own ovation. Then Travis takes the mic. We've also started something new. The Pinewood Opportunity Fund. A new slide appears showing scholarship details. Using the $75,000 court awarded to Garrett, he donated all of it. We're funding 2 $5,000 a year scholarships for local students. Renewable for 4 years. The first awards go out next month. Parents in the crowd wipe their eyes. Mallory steps up next. And we're not stopping here. The documentary's hit over 2 million views. 43 HOAs nationwide have reached out asking for help. We're creating a free resource hub. Legal templates, organizing guides, everything we learned available to anyone who needs it. The cheers shake the room. I introduce the new trust board. 7 seats. 22 people ran. Voting was online, verified, fully transparent. I read the results: a teacher, a nurse, a mechanic, a small business owner, a stay-at-home dad, an engineer, and a college student home for summer. A true cross-section of Pinewood. Each stands as I call their name. No boos, no objections. Just applause. This, I say, is what democracy looks like when it's not rigged. I close with this. 4 months ago, Deidre Kensington told me I didn't belong here. She was wrong. We all belong here. And now this neighborhood finally belongs to us. The room explodes, cheering, stomping, whistling. It's deafening, beautiful. Through the windows, I see kids playing on the same playground Deidre once tried to ban. Afterward, no one rushes home. People stay for hours, talking, laughing, making plans. Someone brings a grill, someone else a cooler. It becomes an impromptu block party. The same clubhouse that once symbolized control now celebrates freedom. Reuben finds me near sunset and hands me a beer. You did good, brother. I shake my head. We did good. All of us. He clinks his bottle against mine. To freedom from petty tyrants, I grin. And to never becoming one ourselves. 30 days later, the Pinewood Commons Trust is fully operational. The first official meeting happens on a Wednesday night, live streamed just like we promised. Over 100 people tune in. First motion, set dues at $45 passed unanimously. Second, repeal every cosmetic rule. Paint your house purple. Build a gnome army. Live your life. 2 weeks later, the community garden breaks ground on 2 acres of trust land. 20 families sign up the first day. By summer, it's bursting with tomatoes, peppers, herbs, and squash. Surplus produce, over 300 pounds, goes straight to the Tulsa Food Bank. A Vietnam veteran plants a memorial rose garden in one corner. Kids water it after school. In May, the Opportunity Fund awards its first scholarships, a young woman headed to nursing school whose family almost lost their home, and a boy who dreams of becoming an engineer inspired by Garrett's fight. I attend the ceremony. I try not to cry. I fail. In July, Deidre pleads guilty to avoid trial. August, sentencing. 3 years in state prison, 2 at $40,000 restitution, 5 years probation. Real estate license revoked. Her Pinewood house sells at foreclosure for 60% of what she paid. The buyers, a young couple with a toddler, are thrilled to move into a neighborhood without an HOA. The irony isn't lost on anyone. A month later, the local paper runs a feature. Pinewood Commons, the neighborhood that fought back. The headline reads, "Former HOA president jailed for fraud she once inflicted on others." Next to it, Deidre's mugshot sits beside a photo of the thriving community garden. The contrast says everything. 2 of her former board members each receive 18 months in jail. The third, who cooperated with prosecutors, gets probation and community service. All 3 are permanently banned from ever serving on an HOA board again. But the story doesn't end there. The ripple effect keeps growing. That November, the Oklahoma State Legislature passes the HOA Transparency Act, with full bipartisan support and the governor's signature. It requires annual audits, open meetings, caps late fees at $50, and demands proper notice for boundary changes. Some even nickname it Garrett's Law, though I had little to do with writing it. Lucia led that fight, and she earned every bit of credit. Within months, 3 more neighborhoods in Oklahoma dissolved their corrupt HOAs using our legal model, then 2 more in Texas, and another in Arizona. Mallory's documentary gets picked up by a streaming service. She's developing it into a 6-episode series. I told her I didn't want to be heavily featured. This story's bigger than me now. My workshop is finally finished. On weekends, I teach metalworking classes for kids and adults, 12 students so far. Next month, we're building a pergola for the community garden. My son came for Christmas, and we built a bookshelf together on the lathe. My daughter visited on Thanksgiving. She smiled and said, "And Dad, You finally found your purpose after the army. Maybe she's right. The legal defense fund I started with $25,000 from the court award has grown to $70,000, thanks to donations. We've already helped 4 families in other states fight back against HOA abuse. One woman in Phoenix emailed me. Her HOA tried to foreclose on her home over just $400 in dues. We connected her with a lawyer and she won. She kept her home. Ruben still comes by most evenings. We sit on my porch, drink a couple of beers, and watch neighborhood kids play in the street. We see people talking again, helping each other, rebuilding trust. One night he asks, "Do you ever regret it? The stress, the legal bills, the threats?" I think for a moment, then shake my head. Not for a second. Spring arrives. The 150-year-old oak tree in my yard bursts into bloom. Its branches don't creak like a ship in a storm anymore. They sway gently at peace. One Saturday, as I sit beneath it sanding a piece of cedar, a car pulls up. A young couple steps out, late 20s maybe. They look around nervously. "Are you Garrett Hollins?" the woman asks. I stand, brush sawdust from my hands. "That's me." She glances at her husband, then back at me. "We just bought a house 3 blocks over. Our realtor told us you're the reason this neighborhood doesn't have an HOA anymore. We wanted to say thank you. We were priced out everywhere else because of HOA fees." I shake their hands. "Welcome to Pinewood. You're going to love it here." They drive off smiling, and that's when it hits me. This is what victory really looks like. Not courtrooms or handcuffs, though those matter. Real victory is people living free from fear. Kids laughing without citations. Neighbors trusting one another. Systems that serve people instead of crushing them. I came here to build a workshop and find peace. I got both, but I also found something better. A community worth fighting for. So here's my question for you. Have you lived through your own HOA nightmare? Share it in the comments. You're not alone, and your story matters. And if you want to see more stories about everyday people standing up to corruption and taking their power back, hit that subscribe button. Next time, a homeowner in Florida who uncovered her HOA president's secret Ponzi scheme and the incredible way she fought back.